Hey everybody, it's Dr. Jason Piken. Welcome again to another episode of the Digestion Diaries. Today what I wanted to do is answer a question that was just asked of me by a patient. And she just wanted to know, Dr. Piken, what do I feed my kids? She has digestive problems and bloating and things like that, and she doesn't want her children to wind up having the same issues as she does. So the first thing I want to talk about is the most simple answer whenever anybody asks me what should I eat, and that is JERF. JERF, J-E-R-F, JERF. What JERF stands for is just eat real food. There's a whole chapter in my book that I dedicated to JERF. There is a bar that I eat from Sean Croxton and SeanCroxton.com, the JERF bar, and that's a just eat real food bar. But what JERF stands for is just eat real food, and what the rule is if it's food, you eat it, and if it's not, you don't. So how do you determine what's food? Well, first, food spoils. So if you leave real food on the countertop and not wrapped up in plastic and preserved in any way, if you just leave it there, in a number of days, usually food spoils. Now, there's a little trick there with that bar. It has been designed and cooked in a way it will last a little longer, okay? But even that will spoil. It will grow a mold on it because it has these nutrients that bugs like, and if bugs like to eat your food, it's probably a little bit better off. So just eat real food also stands for one ingredient food. It doesn't just spoil, it only has one ingredient, like tomato, like chicken, like egg, all one ingredient. Carrot, broccoli, all these things have one ingredient. So if there's only one ingredient, most likely it's food, so you can eat it. Now, if you combine these ingredients together into something that you're going to cook, well, it's still food because it started off as single ingredients. But if you bought a box and it has some ingredient list that you read and it says polysorbate 80 or BHT or natural flavoring, even worse, artificial flavoring, yellow lake #1, these are not food items, and these are what I would suggest to get out of your pantry and not feed your children. So anything processed is going to be less food-like. Now let's just take sugar, all right? So here's a question I get asked over and over again. Is sugar food? Well, because it comes from sugar cane. But what you want to think of as food rules is how many steps did it take from this sugar cane that was just grown somewhere on a farm, and then it was juiced and pressed so the liquid come out. Then it had to be concentrated into crystals, and then those crystals had to be further ground down into this white powder. Well, you see, to me, it's not really food anymore. Now you can make the argument maple syrup. It was just collected from a tree, these little drips that come out, and you get all this liquid, and then you have to boil it down. Now, is it allowed? Is it less bad than polysorbate 80? Yes, but still, if you had to take a lot of steps from how it's originally sourced to how it gets into your body, well then I think you should try to avoid it as much as possible. So let's take broccoli. Broccoli, you pick it, you wash it off, you eat it. Maybe you want to cook it because broccoli is kind of hard and crunchy, but that's it. Not many steps. So the less steps something takes to get from the farm to the table, the more likely it's food, and that's okay to feed your kids. Remember also that we're not just feeding the body so they have enough calories. We're not just feeding enough protein, carbohydrate, and fat, and please don't be afraid of fat. I hope you're not avoiding fat with your children because you think they'll get fat. Fat does not make you fat, at least the healthier fats. We can talk about partially hydrogenated fats here, but I don't need to, because anybody that thinks the word hydrogenated is food is missing out on JERF, the original rule. So if it says olive oil, canola oil, avocado oil, please don't be scared of it. And so let's go into then what I was just saying is that you don't want to think about just protein, carbohydrates, and fats. You want to think about the quality of foods that are also going to feed our microbiome. So one of the things that's going to involve the health of your child is the health of their gut. And what we want to do is always be feeding the good bacteria that are found in the gut. And mainly what we want to feed these good bacteria is fiber. Fiber is not digested by the human body. We have no ability to deal with fiber, but it's these bugs that live in our gut, part of the microbiome, that feed on the fiber. And having a healthy microbiome makes us a lot happier. So where are you going to get these fibers? Well, you're going to get it from fruits and vegetables. That should be 70% of the fiber that you get in. That should be 70% of the food that you get into your body is fruits and vegetables. Now, raw or cooked, that's going to be a little taste preferences. I like a 30% raw and the rest cooked as far as my fruits and vegetables go. And then again, natural meats and vegetables. Now, should we be getting wild game, which would be the best, or wild fish, which would be the best? Yes. But not many hunters in New York City. So for all the rest of those, what we want is grass-fed, because pasture-raised, because we want these animals eating what they normally would be eating. A vegetarian-fed diet is really a labeling scam, I believe. So grass-fed diet is going to be best for cows. And free-range chickens are going to be great, so that we want them to peck on the little worms and the bugs. We don't just want them being fed chicken feed. Now listen, I am not perfect. I'm far from perfect in this rule. Yet, whenever I can, we get free-range, organic, pasture-raised animals, and that's the meats we eat. So there's my simple rules on what do you feed your kid. Really nothing that you're not going to feed yourself. You just want to start after they're able to start chewing food, which is going to be about 6 months of life introduction after you're done breastfeeding. And listen to more the Digestion Diaries so you can find out more about what foods heal you. Don't treat your children different just because they're kids. Don't feed them a lot of junk just because they're young and they can get away with it. The problems that we experience as an adult start when we're children. So feed them right. Have a great day. Hope that helps.